Good morning and welcome to Community Headlines Live, aka the Water Cooler. I'm Michael Siegel. I am the chapter chair of the local chapter of SCORE. For those of you that are not familiar with SCORE, we're the nation's largest provider of free business mentoring services and educational programs for small business owners and aspiring entrepreneurs. We have over 240 chapters nationwide, all volunteer business experts. Our chapter, we are so proud. 2019, we were selected the mid-market chapter of the year. And in 2020, we were actually named a diamond level chapter, which is an honor bestowed on less than 10% of the chapters around the country. So just shows what a fabulous group of people we have. Great team of folks. You're going to meet a couple of them this morning. And we'll also provide you with information on how to schedule a meeting with one of our business mentors, a free meeting, later in the show. But right now, we're going to show you a very short video about Savannah SCORE.
For over 50 years, SCORE has served as America's premier source of free business mentoring and education services. Locally, Savannah SCORE has helped hundreds of local clients establish and grow successful enterprises for free. Whether the challenge is getting better control of finances or growing market share, Savannah SCORE can help. We all need someone to inspire us to do better than we know. Don't put it off. Find your mentor today at savannah.score.org.
Okay, well, we have a fabulous show for you this morning. This morning's topic is the importance and impact of diversity and inclusivity in Savannah's small business community. Just a wonderful and timely topic. We have a great group of folks on our panel this morning. First of all, we have Carla Barrowman-Clevenger, and Carla is Executive Director of Barrowman Case Management. Good morning, Carla.
Good morning.
And next we have Delisa Clift. Delisa is founder and CEO of Global Business Development Strategist, LLC, and she is also a fantastic certified SCORE mentor. Good morning, Delisa.
Good morning, Michael and everyone.
And next is Sandy Prosnitz, HWIC, which stands for Head Woman in Charge of Logo Goods, Graphic Design, and Promotional Items. Sandy, hi.
Hey, good morning.
And Lisette Risselli. Lisette is Director of Agenda Latina and Hispanic Community Marketing Specialist. Buenos dias, Lisette.
Buenos dias. Good morning.
And last but not least, we have Jess Belfry. And Jess is a woman of many talents, but she said, just tell everybody that she is a certified SCORE mentor. So for now, that's what Jess shall be.
Good morning, everyone.
So to kick things off, I'm going to ask each of our panelists if they would just say a few words that they would like to share with the audience as we get started. So we'll go back through in alphabetical order. So Carla, would you like to start us off?
Absolutely. As he said, I'm Carla Barrowman-Clevenger, and I am the founder, owner, and executive director for Barrowman Case Management. That is one of the first independent case management agencies in Kentucky. And what case managers do is we work with people with disabilities to increase their independence so that they can become a bigger part of their community. So we are all about diversity and inclusion, and I am just so excited to be here speaking with everyone today.
Okay, great. Thank you. Delisa.
Yes, good morning, everyone. Michael, I was so glad when I got an opportunity to participate in this particular water cooler event today, because we know that diversity and inclusion is so very much important. And it's important for the business communities. And it's important to understand not just being diverse and included, but also feel a need of belonging. So having that understanding around diversity and inclusion and how it impacts our business community is something that I'm very passionate about, and I'm really happy to be a part of this particular discussion this morning.
You know, just real quickly, diversity and inclusivity is a huge priority for SCORE, has been for many years. And Delisa is one of the ambassadors on the national committee that is devoted to making sure that all of our chapters and all of our volunteers treat all of our fellow volunteers as well as our clients with respect and a sense of belonging, just like Delisa said. She does a wonderful job. She's got several videos out there where she just expresses herself beautifully. So we appreciate what you do. Okay, Sandy.
Hey, Cara. Everybody say hi to Cara.
Hey, Cara.
Hey, Cara. Thank you for watching.
Okay, Sandy.
Yeah, I'm Sandy. I'm the HWIC, otherwise known as Chief Cook and Bottle Washer for Logo Goods. We're marketing, graphic design, custom apparel, and promo products, swag, the fun stuff, right? That you can put your logo on. So I'm a Jewish lesbian in the Deep South. Yay me, right? And this has been kind of a hot topic for me for my whole life, not just in business, but everywhere. So I'm excited about this.
Wonderful, wonderful. Happy to have you here. Lisette.
Yes, I'm Lisette Riselli from Agenda Latina, and we have a motto that is Conectados somos más. When we are together, we are stronger and we do better. And that is what diversity is. And I am so glad to be here with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisette. Jess, you want to share any comments?
Yeah, I share Delisa's excitement in this conversation as well as this group that we have this morning. I admire all of you for what you represent and what you do on a daily basis. And thank you so much for sharing your time with us this morning. And I look forward to having a great conversation. Great, great.
To kick it off, Delisa kind of addressed this a little bit, but I'd be kind of interested in other comments about, we hear about diversity and inclusivity all the time, but I'm wondering if some of our audience really doesn't understand why this is so important, not just in small business, but in our communities at large. Would anyone like to expand on that?
Certainly. I would take that question, Michael. I think that diversity and inclusion within our community is very important, simply because of the fact that everybody brings their own perspective from their experiences in the world. And so when you blend that together in a community, you only have the greatest forces. You have an opportunity to expand your vision, expand your ideas, whatever those might look like for your community, as well as for your business. So I think that having just what I consider as a melting pot of different ethnicities and different genders and things of that nature only makes the community stronger and better, because you have a wealth of resources that you can pull from experiences, from cultural experiences.
Okay. Anybody else? Lisette? Yes.
Well, I think it's a human thing. I mean, it's the most important part of life. Have compassion and accept. Help me if I say incorrect word, but accept other people. So it's part of the life, and we have to include the diversity and inclusion in our mentality and our emotional part too, and that's gonna help to have a better society.
Say, Sandy, there are so many things recently about the LGBTQ, and I'm sure there are other letters I'm missing. I apologize.
There are.
But we'd really like to hear your perspective on it, because there's so much activity and hopefully progress with this group of people, part of whom is my daughter, by the way.
Nice. Yeah, Lizette, you just said, you started off by saying human, right? And I was actually in a conversation less than a week ago with a networking group that I'm part of. We were hanging out after the meeting, and we were talking about all of those initials, Michael. And I think the latest and greatest is LGBTQIA2S+, but I may have even missed something. And the response to all of this, as we're talking about it, was, that's just gotten out of hand, and why can't you say LGBT and everybody understands what we're talking about? And I clenched my teeth for a few moments while I listened to everyone. And one of the comments that was made was, "It's gotten so out of hand. What's it going to be 20 years from now?" I said, you know what? 20 years from now, I hope that all we're saying is human, just human.
Bravo.
That there is no need to explain or specify, that we're all just people that are actually coexisting with that sense of equality and inclusivity. And so that's a big deal. Just recently, there was an enormous Pride celebration of over 30,000 people in Hungary.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's also a new law in Hungary that you're not allowed to speak about or educate about the LGBTQIA2S plus community in schools in Hungary. It's against the law now.
Wow.
And that's terrifying that still exists.
Yeah. Carla, anything you want to add? Yes, go ahead.
I think that obviously we're talking about diversity, and that is the first step, but kind of what everyone else has mentioned, it's truly inclusion that we're looking for. Diversity is being asked to the party, but inclusion is being asked to dance. And that's kind of a cliche, but that is the phrase that I use when I'm talking to people not in my field. And yeah, I would love to get to the point, hopefully more than 20 years, earlier than 20 years, but maybe not, where it's just, hey, I was talking to this person and color, gender, sexuality, none of that mattered. It's just, you connect with the person and acknowledge the differences, but completely accept them.
Jess, anything you want to add? Yeah.
Well, I want to say buenos dias to Karen, who joined us. And I think this is a really good question that Cara had asked. She said, so kind of going back, Cara is one of my SCORE clients. She runs her own business, Thrive Marketing. And we talk a lot about, in marketing, we talk about creating your avatar. And your avatar is that one singular client that you want to land and that you want to have in your wheelhouse. And then from there, all of the other clients that you get are basically from word of mouth from that one singular client. And so Cara asked, how do you be inclusive if how do you be inclusive of everyone when you have a specific avatar or client that you are looking for?
I personally think that you have to do it with great intent and purpose. Diversity and inclusion, it doesn't just happen. It would be wonderful if it could, but it doesn't. You have to plan. You have to sit down, and it starts from the top and trickles down. It needs to be in your mission statement. It needs to be part of that employee culture. And sit down, write a diversity plan and include goals and get data so you can measure your progress. And then it has to continue and evolve. Review it every 6 months, every 12 months, update it. It should be the same as a quality improvement plan, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I agree with Carla there, especially when you talk about intention. You want to be intentional about your approach to diversity, inclusion, and belonging, because of the fact that when you're not intentional, you're just going through the motion. You're just basically creating something that is not an actionable step. So when you look at diversity and inclusion and belonging, it means that you're taking action on that every single day. It's just like Carla said, it's a part of your mission statement. It's a part of what your culture breeds. And so when you're looking at creating the culture of diversity, inclusion, and belonging, you're starting from scratch. A lot of companies, in the last year or so, they didn't have a diversity inclusion plan. So it forced them to kind of sort of start thinking out of the box of how to address that. In some organizations, they decided to, put money behind particular programs that would basically help to bring in that understanding about what diversity and inclusion and belonging is, especially when it comes to the business community. But it goes a little bit deeper than just the business community. Again, like Michael said earlier, it goes back to your community. What does your community look like? Even what does your circle of friends look like? So I think that it really bears upon us as individuals to start looking at diversity and inclusion from a personal perspective, and then can we include that in the community, in our business, in our schools, and other places that we actually live in on a day-to-day basis. Starting with yourself and actually looking at what does diversity and inclusion mean to you. You know, having to think outside of the box and say, hey, look, my circle of friends they all look like me. Should they? Probably not, because then of course you close yourself off in that little silo that you don't get a chance to really experience the full capacity of what life could look like having a diverse group of people around you.
Yeah. Lisette, did you have something you wanted to share?
I just want to make a point or an example with the radio show, for example, that we have right now every Saturday at 12. My target is the people that speak Spanish or people who love the music or the Latin music. So I have like a specific target, but I am intentional, like she say, intentionally I promote the love and the opportunity to open your heart and help me to reach your Latin friends or the people that like the music and things like that. So basically, yes, we have to think in a specific target, talking about the perspective, the marketing perspective, and it's important to have that point very clear when we do sales or marketing or when we have a business. But be intentional trying to include everyone, because you never know who can help you to reach to next customers. It's important in the marketing perspective. That's what I think.
Very good. Thank you. Excuse me. So moving on a little bit, I'd like to know, what is your view? What is your perspective of the state of diversity and inclusivity in Savannah? And what are some of the things that excite you? And what are some of the things that concern you?
I'm excited that there seems to be a movement. You know, a lot of times when we talk about, you know, having take place, because of some of the things that have happened over the last year or so, we have really seen that people are taking diversity and inclusion more serious because of the people that are speaking out, people that are very vocal, and having that to be not just something that people talk about, but something that people are actually doing is really important. And I'll give you an example. I'm not in Savannah, I'm here in Hinesville, but I'm a part of Savannah SCORE. And so I'm going to talk about it from a government procurement standpoint. We deal a lot with what we call minority and women business enterprise procurement opportunities within government contracting. And so what that means is that, you know, a people of color, whatever the federal guideline says, which is a minority, and women, of course, have an opportunity to sit at the table and take advantage of opportunities that the government offers. The government buys everything, whether it's the local government, the state government, or the federal government. So there has been a greater movement toward making sure that the people that are actually out there and capable of providing goods or services in the government procurement space have the opportunity to do so. So individual organizations are taking a closer look at their MWBE program policies to make sure that they include everyone and they're fair and they're being followed and they're being carried out in the way that they're intended to be. So from a local perspective, I think that there is a greater push to make sure that there is always a seat at the table for people that don't look like everyone else in the room. And there is more, I would say, a more balancing and inclusive act that people are actually taking a part of. So I think it's a great movement.
Sandy, what do you think?
So I actually have a question because I'm a little bit removed from this, but one of the things that I have experienced through my entire adult life is the non-mainstream, and by mainstream, I mean like Christianity, basically, the non-mainstream religious holidays. I've spent my whole life, obviously, until now I work for myself, but having to take personal time or vacation days for Jewish high holy days. I'm not talking about, a silly garbage holiday, because we all have them. We all have silly ones in there that it's not really a religious thing. It's more of a traditional thing. But I'm talking about the actual holy days within religions. Is that still a thing, or are businesses now being more inclusive of other religions, of the diverse religions, and extending paid holidays for those high holy days, not just Easter and Christmas?
I'd like to add a little bit of something. I also am Jewish, and I think there really does need to be a more of an awareness of like you said, Sandy, the important holidays from all the other religions. I had a wonderful experience several years ago when I was still in corporate America. IBM sponsored this huge golf tournament for customers at one of the top golf resorts in New Jersey. And when did they schedule it? On Yom Kippur.
Nice.
Yeah, which is the Day of Atonement in the Jewish calendar. It's one of the most important and sacred days. And I contacted the organizers, and don't you know, they rescheduled it. And I can't imagine the time, effort, and expense, but they were respectful and they were responsive. And, I think some of it is just awareness. People just don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm glad you brought up the interfaith element of this as well, Sandy.
Yeah,
So
that's really impressive that they rescheduled it too, because I'll tell you, 40 years ago, I was in Girl Scouts, and they had scheduled a camping trip during maybe Rosh Hashanah, maybe Yom Kippur, one of them. And when it was brought to their attention that I felt left out, they actually kicked me out of Girl Scouts rather than rescheduling and being accommodating. So it's nice to see that what was 40 years ago at least isn't now.
Yep. We'll move on to this in a second.
Yeah.
That is especially ironic for those of you that know Savannah history, know that 3 out of the 5 original Girl Scout leaders were members of the Jewish community. So there we go. Okay, so moving on. So what do you think, Carla? What do you see, and what excites you, and what concerns you?
Well, I am new to Savannah, a recent Kentucky transplant. It's interesting to me in Kentucky. I'm from Lexington, so you've got that college town feel, which is more open to diversity. So I was kind of concerned when we first came down here, and then as I've gotten to know people and make connections, I've been very pleased with the level of openness and just the curiosity about, oh, what do you do? I work with people with disabilities. Oh, what's that? How can I help? So everybody that I have come in contact with has just been so wonderful and so open to new ideas and are very willing to share their own experiences. So that's exciting.
Mm-hmm. Jess, what do you think? You're very connected in a lot of ways, as is Lizette, to the many things in this community. What do you think? You're muted, Jess. You're muted.
Hi. I think this whole topic really goes back to, and whether it's the Jewish community, the Black community, the Latina community, community with disabilities, any of them, it all goes back to who's sitting on the board and making the decisions. And when you look at people that I try to associate with and organizations that I try to associate with, all of them, the number one thing I look for is, does it have a diverse culture? And is it inclusive? And if it's not, then I'm either going to make a wave and kind of raise a fuss and try and get them to change, or I'm just not going to be a part of it. And I think that wave is starting to become more and more and more okay, where I'm not just complaining, I'm actually raising a fuss for a real reason. And I love my son's school. However, my son's school, the whole board looks identical. And so then when they're making decisions, all of those decisions that they're making come from that mindset. And it's like, well, I want my kid to grow up in an inclusive and diverse community. And so if I choose for him to go to that school, then I need to do things outside of the home to make sure that he understands the importance of, you know, we're all together and we all need to work together. And just because the board of some school looks all identical, that's not the real world. And that's not how it should be.
Lisette, did you have something you want to share?
And continue with Jesse, and that's why you made the Savannah Carnival. Well, excellent. I am completely agree with all of you girls and Michael. Basically, I feel like we believe not just Savannah, but all the areas around in a tourist, like area. So that help to be open to the diversity and inclusion, because that make, give us business, and there's people coming from every part of the world. And I really think that the leadership, like I just say, is important in every organization and trying to open that mentality to diversity. But at the same time, I think the leaders in the community, people like me or all of you that have that motivation, helps to to everyone to understand better the diversity and inclusion. And I feel that in Savannah and all the areas around, people are very open to start working hard, to intentionally, like Lisa say, in the diversity and inclusion. I am part of the Savannah Area Chamber of Commerce, ambassador too, or my job, and I'm there with a purpose, because I want to open the opportunities to my community, understand that they can go and feel accepted. That's my real point. So depends of everyone that have in her heart or his heart the passion to help the community to be accepted in every other group, not just of course in the Latino way. But yeah, I agree with all of you.
I think how Lisette and I's relationship first started out 3 years ago is a great example of, you don't know what you don't know, but you shouldn't be afraid to go get what you want. And so 3 years ago when I started Carnival, I'd made many missteps, like very bad. But my overall goal and intention was truly pure. I wanted to create some type of fundraising event that celebrated a lot of cultures, and brought people together to have fun in a fundraising environment. And so when we first started, Lisette and I, we were going to meet, and then we missed each other. And then we had a great event. However, it fell flat on what originally I had set out to do, was to, create this inclusive culture through a fundraising event. And so by the partnership, and I know Mary from Latin Chicks and Mintaby is on here. Hi, Mary. Through Mary's help, through Set's help, through Adriana would do Savannah. With all of their help, they came to me and they were like, okay, Jess, you're going about this all wrong. So let's sit down and, talk about, if you want to have an inclusive event, here's how you do it. And I still am forever grateful for that. Thank you, Lisette. And this year, Lisette and I have been able to partner very strongly, and you have brought all of the culture and all of the fun to this year's event.
You are amazing. Yes.
Good morning, Mary.
Thank you.
Thanks for your comment.
So I would say if you're in a business mindset, and if you're in a place of power where you can make a change, but you don't know how to make that change, don't be afraid of making mistakes along the way. Lean into the people that you want to make a change for, and allow them to guide you, and be open to learning. And that's, you're going to make mistakes. But if you have the right people in your corner, no matter who they are, they're going to forgive you and help you, and they're going to lift you up. And particularly in Savannah, Savannah's excellent about lifting each other up when we're down. So
I think that's a perfect lead-in for a plug for SCORE. we are there to do exactly as Jess has just stated. One of our mottos is, we all need someone who inspires us to do better than we know how. And the folks at SCORE have been down the road, they've made the mistakes, and they are ready to share their knowledge and their perspective to help folks on their successful journey toward business ownership. So, and the last thing I'll say about that, and I know Lisette wants to say something, some people have the misconception that SCORE is a bunch of white guys that all look like me. We have 47 wonderful people. 41% of them are women. 21% are people of color. 11 are veterans. 11% are veterans. And we have our youngest mentor is 27, and our oldest mentor is way over 27. But it's an amazing, we believe in this and we live it as we help people every day. Lisette, I'm sorry.
No, actually, yes, basically, I want to say that there's a lot of organizations like SCORE that are open to help people in our community to make your business successful, to give you or connect you with all the opportunities and organizations. So we are connected, you see. That's what I want to say. I mean, there's opportunities in our, I mean, we can, like Jess say, we learn by mistakes. So we are in the correct place all the time. Yes, we need to believe in ourselves, and you can do it. And we are here to help. And there's a lot of more people and organizations and leaders that want your success.
You know, one of the things I've noticed is that, and I don't know if you agree with this, one of the things I'm very encouraged about is I think some of these issues are generational. I think as I see the younger generation coming along, they know diverse people. They're friends with people. They see different kinds of people every day. Now that's not across our culture because obviously there's a lot of divisions. But what do you think about this, the situation of new generations coming on?
Michael, I think that the new generation gets it. They realize that their world is more open and they're more experiences if they just open themselves up to more diverse communities. And I feel like that they are what we call awake. You know, that's the term that everybody is using now to just say, hey, look, you know, I realize that I might not be experiencing life to the fullest if I stay in my silo. But if I get out of my silo, if I challenge myself to bring someone to the table that doesn't look like me, or to go to an event. I mean, and I'm going to use that as an example because me being a woman of color, it might have been difficult for me some years ago to walk into a room, a full room of people that don't look like me, right? Because I just not knowing how I was going to be received and accepted. But now I'm more, I would say, encouraged to do that, only because of the fact that I don't want to surround myself with everyone that looks like me. I don't want to be in the room full of people of color, right? Because that means that I'm what? I'm closing my mindset off. I'm closing my experiences off to experiencing people that don't look like me. So I think that this community and this young generation, they get it. They understand it. And they realize that we are one. And like Lisette said earlier, we're all just human. And if we can be human and live this life together, it would be a much, much better place to be.
Mm-hmm. Sandy, I'd like you to comment a little bit, and then Carla, I'd like to turn to you because of the folks that you and your team work with every day. All right, so Sandy, what do you think?
So I've actually got two things that I want to respond to, talk about. One is one of my experiences with I'm a volunteer at our First City Pride Center. And one of my experiences there was one afternoon where I was sitting around kind of having a just BS session with some of the younger volunteers in their early 20s, kids that were just out of SCAD. One of our interns was there that day. And they were getting all fired up about the changes that still need to be made, and it's absolutely true, and how, you know, where there's still points of oppression and points of discrimination. But the one thing that, while they are so aware and so woke, right, they don't realize sometimes just how far we have come already. Yes, there's a lot of work to do, but I would love for that younger generation to also recognize the progress that has been made, because there is an awful lot of it. Beyond that, so Delisa, one of the things you were talking about is you don't want to walk into a room where it's all women of color, right? Where there is diversity, where you are not surrounded by people who all look exactly like you. And one of the things that was really interesting to me as I guess invisible minority, because you can't look at me and say, oh, she's Jewish, oh, she's a lesbian, unless I'm wearing, rainbows all over the place, right? So I was at a luncheon a couple of months ago, and I looked around the room and I noticed that every single Black woman that was at the event, they chose to all sit at the same table. And it threw me, because I was like, I feel like you're deliberately segregating what's happening. I don't understand. It was just a really interesting thing to see. I get that people are drawn to like attracts like, right? It's just a thing. But to look around that room and see that happen was like, you're already the minority in this room. It bothered me to see that segregation, like deliberate self-imposed segregation. So I like that you're talking about not doing that, about deliberately not self-imposing segregation. Is I guess what I'm thinking.
Carla, what, did you have you wanted to share as well? And Lisette, then I'll come back to you. Sorry.
Yes, it's interesting, Sandy, what you were saying, because in the field that I work in, we see that a lot. We will have events and people with disabilities will be there, but they'll all be in one corner. And Jess and I were actually talking about this the other day. That is where you have to find those gatekeepers, the people that are just naturally empathetic and social and can recognize that, hey, for example, with people, there's an event, people with disabilities in a corner, there may be some social anxiety, there may be all kinds of psychological things going on where they're like, okay, I'm just going to stay over here. So find those folks that will reach out and build those bridges. And it doesn't just have to be with people with disabilities. It can be with people of color or, LGBTQ, anything, but you have to rely on those gatekeepers from a social setting and obviously in a professional setting as well. But as a business owner, I feel like it is my duty, if I don't have a gatekeeper that's going to step up within the business, then it's my job and my responsibility to assign a gatekeeper if I can't be that gatekeeper myself. But that's really so important, forging those connections, because that's where the inclusion comes from.
And I think that what I would suggest, Carla, also is that those of us that are sensitive to this and aware of this and involved in this, we need to be one-person gatekeepers. I know when I go to an event and I see someone, regardless, who doesn't seem to know anybody or seems a little different, I'll go over and say hello, and I'll sit with him at lunch. So I think, it's so personal. That's what you all said earlier. And, this stuff, I think, changes one person at a time. So, Lisette.
And now that you say that, it's important to have a host in every event. In that way, that kind of stuff helps to include let the people feel included. Because that example that Sandy was talking about happens with the Latinos too, and I see it. You know me, I try to be everywhere, and I invite people from my community because I want them to understand how Savannah works and how that kind of all that events help gonna help them in their business and all that stuff. And I bring them, but we used to stay together in some kind of way, but we need to just, I mean, it's with, I think it's the time, you know, like with the time we are more comfortable. I talking about my experience. But happens in our community too, you know, like, I mean, but it's important to have somebody that help to connect the people. And I love to do it. And I really enjoy with too much, I don't, you know me, with too much passion, include my community and then let them feel in that way.
Yeah.
But I think it's like you say, somebody at the time and help each others to feel included. But this kind of stuff gonna help a lot. If
Right.
everyone, you know, if many people are listening this the next time in any event, we going intentional. I think it's the correct word for today. Intentionally, make feel somebody included. I say it
Right.
correctly. You can help me.
You know, you
Yes,
got it.
you did. That
Yeah,
was
I want to say good morning to Mark Sutton. Mark joined us. Mark is also an amazing SCORE mentor, and he is a specialist with social media and website design and e-commerce. And I'm so glad to have a little bit more testosterone here in the group. Anyway, Jess, did you have anything that you wanted to add?
No, I just wanted to say hi to Mark. He's one of our mentors. And I think, you know, kind of going back to, okay, if you're at a point where you're like, you know what, I do want to create a more inclusive culture and you just don't know where to begin, that is a great opportunity to talk with one of the SCORE mentors. If you go to our SCORE mentor page, you can go to request a mentor. What I did when I first started working with SCORE, probably 7 years ago, I went to their page and I just looked down the request a mentor and I picked the person that I felt looked most like me. So I felt like I would be able to connect with them. And so I encourage you guys, go to the SCORE page and connect with a mentor. You can read about their bio and their background. And get acquainted with the process so that you can make a difference and you know, be kind of a game changer within your own community.
Yeah, thank you very much. By the way, I do want to invite the audience, if you have any questions and you have some comments, but if you have questions that you would like our panel to address for you, please do submit them.
Hola, buenos dias, Catherine.
Okay, let's see. What barriers do you see to achieving the goal that all of us seem to share? And how would you suggest that they might be overcome?
Can I jump in on that?
Oh, sure, Sandy.
I think one of the biggest barriers is fear.
Mm.
People are afraid to speak up. People are afraid to talk about the I'm trying to find a word other than oppression, but what that feeling of, you know, that you are not allowed to express your individuality, that you need to keep a lid on whatever it is that makes you different. To let go of that fear would be a huge step towards furthering inclusion and diversity and acceptance. Because if you don't talk about it, nobody even knows that there's an issue.
You know, the fear factor is so interesting to me. Those of you that might be familiar with the great American musicals, one of the best ever was South Pacific. And in that, part of that storyline is American GIs in the Pacific, and there's a Frenchman who has adopted 2 of the island children. And there's a song in there that is amazing. And the main line is, "You have to be taught to hate and fear." And it saddens me when I see people interviewed or read things where they are obviously repeating what their parents said. And there's no critical thinking. There's no apparent willingness to open their minds. That's how my granddaddy thought. That's how my daddy thinks, and that's how I think. And I think that that to me is a tremendous barrier. If you enter into dialogue with people, if you get to meet people, this stuff just disappears. But anyway, so that's my little soapbox. What else do you all think?
Yeah, Michael, I agree completely with what Sandy just said, because fear keeps us outside of a lot of circles or opportunities that we would walk into. So if you eliminate the barrier of fear and then allow yourself to be vulnerable enough to invite someone else inside of your circle that you might not would have invited, or to even step outside of your circle, like what we talked about earlier, with everybody, kind of sort of intentionally segregating based on their preference. Allow yourself to be vulnerable enough to at least have an open conversation with someone that doesn't look like you or think like you. So I think that creating that that intention to be vulnerable enough to invite someone that does not resemble you into a conversation is going to be one of the things that help us to overcome where we are.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Lisette.
I think it's a deep topic, but I am agree with Lisa, and I basically think, and I always say this, we exclude ourselves, so that has to be with the fear. And so we need to start to put out that barrier with ourselves. It's like an example of me is my English. I used to say that I don't speak good English, and actually the most of the conversations that I gonna start with somebody, I start from that point. Please be patient with me, even when I am in a customer service call. Please be patient with me. And my English is not that good. If you don't understand, can you tell me? And I try to explain you again. But I think in my case, I just how can I say that? Pass that barrier. Like I don't feel the fear anymore, because I understand for me is the way that I can go up and do business and do better in my community. I mean, I don't have any other option. If I maybe have another option, I go into that option because, like it's more comfortable in many cases. And that's what happened with people. They feel like comfortable in the comfort zone the most of the time. So that's because I say it's a deep topic, because we have to work in many ways with our mentality, all that you say, our family, what they put in our mind and our emotions, and it's very deep, but we can do it. We can do it. And the most important thing is there's a lot of organizations and leaders in our community, and I'm going to say this again and again, that are working hard to make all this possible. And I really appreciate all your job, every of you in our community. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Carla, your constituents, we've had the Americans with Disabilities Act for decades now. So there's a physical thing, but what other things do you see with the folks with disabilities that you folks represent?
Well, it's interesting to me. There's kind of a joke within our field that for the longest time, people thought that they were experts on autism if they had seen Rain Man. So, they would meet someone with autism and they would automatically be like, hey, want to go to Vegas or, whatever. And it's just a lot of the same things. Obviously, with people with disabilities, there are physical barriers, wheelchair, stairs, ramps, things like that. But the preconceived notions, the fear, that is the same regardless of what type of challenge or, difference that we have. in our field, what I encourage all my case managers to do is educate, whether it's fear, whether it's a preconceived notion, whether it does require some type of physical change or modification. Educate those around to let them know why this needs to be changed. Educate and advocate. That's all we can do.
Yeah, absolutely.
And love.
Absolutely.
To that point, Catherine just wrote in and totally exactly what you're saying, Carla. She said, I'm an RN with graduate school. As an educated Latina, I feel I have to teach people. They haven't met someone like me here in Savannah. They're good people, but they just need to learn. So I try to be forgiving and use my exchanges as teaching moments. So
wonderful,
awesome.
Wonderful. We're running a little shy on time. I think, Sandy, you had something that you wanted to share.
Yeah, just real quick. One of the things we were just talking about is the community that is not part of our individual minority communities being, open and receptive and such. And one of the things that we're doing at the Pride Center now is I'm working on a directory for LGBTQIA2S+ owned, operated, and friendly businesses. And I put that out on social media asking who wants to be included in this. And one of the responses that I got was actually a jewelry store who said, I definitely want to be included. I have heard so many people talk about going ring shopping and getting the hairy eyeball. And let's not just be included. Let's do an event here specifically to show that inclusion. And I'll tell you, it is not gay owned and operated. So that's just, it's a really cool thing to see that. Yeah, we want to reach out and we want to make sure that your minority knows that you're not going to get a hairy eyeball if you come engagement or wedding ring shopping here in our store. And we want to spread the word and hope that other like-minded businesses will share in that as well. And that's
absolutely. So does anybody have any final comment they'd like to make before? I am so disappointed that we have to stop, but we have to stop. Any final comments?
My final comment, Michael, would be to just invite someone to a conversation that doesn't look like you, think like you, and see where that goes, see how that opens up. Absolutely.
And by the way, if you want to be astounded by certain people, right now we have the Olympics, and I think in 16 days they have the Olympics. And if you want to just have your mind blown where you think that there are limitations, there are no limitations. These individuals, these athletes are absolutely astounding. So listen, thank you so much, Sandy, Carla, Lisette, Delisa, and Jess. Jess, you're going to stay with us, but you are all welcome to stay. More comments can continue to come in. I hope that you have taken away some really interesting perspectives and insights from the conversations with these exceptional people. And we look forward to maybe doing this again, maybe next year, and we'll see what progress we have made in the community. So thank you all so very much. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to turn this over to Ms. Belfry, who's going to share with us a little bit of information on SCORE's upcoming workshops and events.
All right. So for those of you guys who don't know, SCORE also does a ton of workshops and events specific to running your business. So we have some really, really good, I'm really excited about some of these workshops. We have some partnerships with the City of Savannah Economic Development Department. We also have some partnerships with the SBA to bring you guys some great workshops. So coming up first is on Tuesday, August 3rd at 10 a.m. And it is what every business owner needs to know about employment and labor law. Such a timely topic based on what we talked about today. And so if you really want to, be a game changer within your workplace, then definitely sign up for that. And again, it is free.
One thing, the presenter is Bill Bruner, who is a colleague of ours who is also an attorney, and he wanted to have a subtitle as "How to Keep You and Your Business Out of Trouble." So,
I think that's a great subtitle. Okay, and then on Thursday, August 5th, again, a free workshop, and these are all virtual, so it doesn't, require your time of having to go anywhere. Starting at noon, it is Know Your Numbers, Understanding Business Financial Reports Made Easy. I often mentor people needing assistance in marketing, and 99% of the people that I work with don't know their numbers. And so a lot of times it's okay, we can work on your marketing, but let's first talk about your numbers, because if you don't know your numbers, you don't know anything. On Tuesday, August 10th at 6:30, we have Marketing Essentials for Entrepreneurs. And again, that one is free. And then we do a series called Business Reality Check. And I know Michael is a big helper in getting all of those launched. And so we have the Business Reality Check, what you need to know to become a successful business owner. So this is a great workshop that if you're thinking like, oh, I could go and do this by myself, I should open my own company. This is going to be the like, hey, wake up. Are you sure you want to do this? And do you have, all of the resources that you need to make a business happen? And that is again on Tuesday, August 24th. And then we have a partnership with the Small Business Association on Tuesday, August 3rd. We're doing a workshop called Selling Your Business and Your Exit Strategy. So maybe during the past year, some of you started a business and then realized that it wasn't for you. Or, you really struggled through COVID and you weren't able to pivot the way that you thought you would. And it's time to exit your business. There's lots and lots of different options that it should not be a huge source of anxiety for you, because you can attend this workshop and you can learn and get a ton of insight on what you need to do and the steps that you need to take. I think that's all of our workshops coming up. We have a Women in Business event coming up in September. We're still working on all of the details for that, but we'll be talking about that on our next Water Cooler Live next month in August. So be on the lookout for that workshop coming up as well.
Okay, and do you want to tell us a little bit about Carnival?
Sure. So if you are in Savannah, then you have most definitely heard of Savannah Carnival. And this is what I call putting fun in fundraising. So this is truly my passion. We do a fundraiser each year benefiting a foundation called SD Gunner Fund. And when we talk about diversity and inclusion, they're on the dog spectrum of inclusion. And so they're most known for their therapy dogs and service dogs. And there's a lot of buzz in the media about, what rights do the service dogs have? And in that world, a service dog really has the same human rights as any human. And so it's a very hot topic. Lots of good works done by SD Gunner Fund. They're a great organization to get involved with. Savannah Carnival, I'm excited, sad to tell you that it's currently sold out. So it takes a lot of pressure off of me this week. But you can win tickets this week if you follow Renee LaSalle or Don Scott on I-95 Rock Savannah. They're giving away tickets all this week, and that is your only opportunity and your only way to get tickets. So be sure to, get clued in with them, and definitely watch everything that I think, Lisette will be there, Sandy will be there, Carla will be there, Delisa, we need you there.
And unfortunately, we're going to be up in the mountains of Georgia, so we can't be there. I'm so disappointed.
And Catherine, who joined us this morning, she is going to be there actually performing, which I'm so excited about. I can't wait to see, what they bring and their costumes. And it's just going to be a really, really fun night for a great cause.
And this is the very, very first event at the brand new Atlantic building at Plant Riverside. So this is the real deal. This is going to be amazing.
Yes.
You better take a lot of videos and a lot of pictures. So, all right, sure. Congratulations. And this is an award-winning fundraising event. So again, wonderful, wonderful work. Okay, so just to wrap up, for those of you that would like to schedule a free session with one of our SCORE business mentors, you can go to savannah.score.org. And right there is a button that says Find a Mentor. And there are also some other links that one that has find-mentor.305, that'll take you right to the request form. Very simple to fill out. Just your contact information, a little bit of background on your company or your desire, and what questions we can help you with. Okay. And then also, if you'd like to be a volunteer, we're always looking for great people to help the small business owners and aspiring entrepreneurs within our community. We actually, the demand is so wonderful now that we don't have enough volunteers. We're having trouble meeting the demand. So if you or any of your colleagues would like to help, we would love to talk to you. Okay, so I want to again thank our amazing guests, Carla, Delisa, Sandy, Lisette, and Jess. I also want to recognize our sponsors. We are so fortunate that we have a number of organizations in the community that share our mission. And I want to particularly recognize those that help us to operate financially. We get a very little amount of money from the federal government. All the rest of it, we have to raise ourselves. And without the help of these partners and sponsors, we couldn't be doing the good work that our team is doing. So I want to particularly recognize Wells Fargo, Truist Bank, Coastal States Bank, Regions Bank, City of Savannah Economic Development Department, the Savannah Area Chamber of Commerce, the Small Business Assistance Corporation, the Savannah Economic Development Authority, Savannah Community Foundation, and the Small Business Administration, among others. So, and I also, of course, want to thank Liz Martin, who's she's the wizard behind the curtain, and we always appreciate everything you do. And Marjorie Young, the president and founder of Carriage Trade Public Relations, who is an amazing person. And if you don't know Marjorie and Marjorie doesn't know you, you haven't been out of your house. So in any event, and by the way, congratulations to Marjorie, who was just installed as the president of the Rotary Club of Savannah, which is a big deal. So congratulations, Miss Marjorie. All right, everybody, well, listen, we wish you a great Monday. We hope you have a fabulous week, and we'll look forward to seeing you the 4th Monday of August for the next SCORE version of the water cooler. Take care, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Have a great day.
Thank you.